Good morning. When I was a child, I often dreamt of becoming a superhero, and as a superhero, I'd be taking the bad guys to jail. That was the ideal times when we thought that everything was possible and justice can be provided to everybody. Now we grow up and we realize that such ideals are not possible at all. We are governed by rules and regulations, and we can operate within the limits of society. Now, justice has to be availed of the courts, through the help of the police, and with lawyers. The problem is, we realize that justice can be quite slow to obtain in this country and in the world in general. There is due process, and because of due process, we don't always achieve things that we want to achieve at the speed we desire. Because the wheels of justice grind so slowly in this country, some idealistic media personalities have taken to other platforms aside from the courts or through the availment of the police to help speed up the procurement of justice. And these platforms include radio broadcasts as well as TV shows. How many of you have watched such shows whereby an individual would have a complaint against a neighbor, for instance, the non-payment of a debt or the taking of that neighbor's wife, and the story would be provided to the public in general, and the media personality will help the parties who are at odds against each other resolve their issues in the public eye. This leads us to today's critical question. When two antagonistic parties agree to meet in front via radio or TV broadcast, and they submit themselves to the adjudication of a media personality so that differences can be resolved. And ultimately, self-incrimination occurs in front of the media personality and before everybody watching such argumentation as well as rebuttal. Will the self-incrimination be something that can be used in a court of law later on should this proceed to court? And also, is the Bill of Rights trespassed when individuals argue before a media personality without the presence of a lawyer? More on this when we return. Welcome back. The Bill of Rights was created to protect the individual, the citizens, from the state. As we know, the state is all-powerful, and without the protection of the Bill of Rights, it would be very easy to trespass the security of the individual. Now, the Bill of Rights does not exist in the relationship between private individuals versus other private individuals. So this is a non-issue in the case at bar. Now, with respect to self-incriminatory questions and admissions that arise in the engagement between the two private individuals arguing it out before the media personality, can this be used later in a court of law? It can, only if there was no undue police influence throughout the entire procedure. This means that the individuals who appeared before the media personality did so willfully, willingly, and without duress. For further information on this, feel free to consult the landmark cases of People versus the Kanay, People versus the Mantay, and People versus Andanare. Here, the Supreme Court ruled that any admission made before a media personality can be upheld as an admission, as a confession, as long as there was no undue police influence. Let's now take a practical question. Let's assume that you, my listeners, find yourself in a position whereby you're being hailed by another private individual to appear before a media personality and settle your grievances before the public eye. What should you do? My advice is this: decline. No media personality, no private individual has the power nor the authority to compel you to appear before the public and to humiliate yourself before everybody. This is something that only the courts and the police can do with the proper due process. This is Joseph Plazo. Thank you for listening. Again, do not litigate, but rather mediate.